Great.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Podcast. Today is January 18th, 2023. Looking forward to a great podcast, and we're bringing on our special guest from Dwellings, Michigan in Plymouth this morning is Derica Wade. Good morning, Derica.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy 2023, and welcome to our podcast.
I know. I remember thinking as a kid, we're supposed to be on like flying cars right now, according to the Jetsons.
It's crazy going on right now. But with us on our panel, we have an all-star panel this morning. First on the lineup is Becky Alley. Good morning, Becky.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Podcast, and rounding out to the first month of 2023. I can't believe January is already coming to an end. This is nuts.
A lot of excitement and a lot of things to talk about just in the last 2 weeks, how the market has changed. We also have with us Mr. John Kolb. Good morning, John.
Good morning. Hope everyone's having a great day.
Yep. And Harvey Freed, the host of the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, heard every Saturday morning from 9 to 10, co-hosted with all of us, Becky Alley, John Kolb, Lisa Lawson, myself. Harvey, good morning, bud.
Good morning, everyone.
All right, so right now, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the podcast is brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. We are an equal housing lender, NMLS number 2289. And that gets away the legal and compliance stuff out of the way for this morning. Let's jump right into it, shall we? Derica, I'm going to start with you because you are a special guest. You're the realtor extraordinaire in this. And it seems to me that just the vibe and what we've been seeing in the numbers, and I'll go over those with you, the numbers that I have to share, I'm sure you have some of your own, is that the market has really changed. It was kind of dead at the end of December. And everybody says, well, it always is. Well, it hasn't been for the last 2-3 years, but let's talk about really the tale of two markets, what's going on. Last 2 weeks, it seems as though the buyers are coming out. We're getting more pre-approvals on the books. Mortgage applications are actually up. What are you seeing in your neck of the woods?
It's crazy because normally January is supposed to be like our off-peak season, our slower season, where a lot of us take classes and we do a lot of, making sure we get our continued education. And we're really busy. So yes, sellers are stepping up too. I've been to a lot of listing appointments lately that they're wanting to get on the market now versus like even waiting till March or April. Buyers are definitely coming out, getting their pre-approvals. Some of them, of course, lapsed and expired in December. So they're kind of starting things fresh. So the market is moving and it's moving fairly fast already.
Yeah, I agree with that. And being prepared, whether you're a buyer or a seller. And actually on my talking point sheet, I spelled John Kolb weather wrong. So you might have to check that out for me. But Becky Alley, be prepared whether you're a buyer or a seller. It really doesn't matter which side of the transaction. If you're looking to sell a home, you have to be prepared. If you're looking to buy a home, well, what do we do to help buyers prepare to buy a home?
I mean, well, buying a home is personal and not everyone's payment and budget is the same. So it's important to have those conversations ahead of time. And we preach that time in and time out because you never know what your credit situation is going to be. You don't know what your employment situation is. If someone's self-employed, we're coming up to tax season. This is a great time to make sure that you know what numbers you need to hit to make sure that you're able to qualify for these homes. And it's just about setting yourself up for a game plan, the budget. You do not want to be house poor. I did a bridal show and we met with a lot of first-time home buyers that are going to be coming up. And, we talked about you want to be married to your house, not your spouse. These are the times that you want to have the conversations. And to Derica's point, yeah, there was a little bit of a pause, I feel like in I would say November, people kind of, you're going 100 miles an hour. They took the pedal off the gas, but then literally the week before, between Christmas and New Year's, my phone was blowing up. I know I was talking to Derica on New Year's Day, getting a couple people situated, and we're just here to help. And I know Derica can kind of advise on the plans for the sellers, right? Do you stage your home? Do you not stage the home? And, it's always important to get in line with the professionals that are going to get you set up for success.
Yeah. Hey, John Kolb, really the tale of two markets right now around metropolitan Detroit. And just to get into some numbers, for example, In Huntington Woods, Michigan, along the Woodward corridor, there are only 2 homes listed on the market in Huntington Woods. That's 2. Now I know it's a 1 square mile city. It's a very desirable area to live, but you're talking about 2 homes in the entire city. Where right across the street in Royal Oak, there's 122 homes for sale. And then across the street from Royal Oak in Berkeley, there are only 19 homes for sale. I mean, I could get into Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills, and we certainly will too. I could also get into Trenton, Michigan, downriver. Only 29 homes for sale in Trenton. But if you go to Lincoln Park and Southgate combined, there's about 100 homes for sale. It's kind of a little bit of a mixed market right now, John.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about areas that, I mean, I'm not as familiar with the downriver area as Becky is, but when you talk about Royal Oak, Berkeley, Huntington Woods is an enigma. Huntington Woods, everybody wants to, stay in Huntington Woods. When they buy in there, when they go to sell, they want to buy again in Huntington Woods. Royal Oak is on the verge with all these new builds of becoming a smaller Birmingham, in my opinion. The streets are starting to blow up, where they've got the Bigfoot houses on the lots, and you got more and more. So a lot of these people are trying to sell their homes for top dollar in Royal Oak, even though they might not be worth it. So you're getting more and more houses on the market. Huntington Woods moves quick. Everybody, like I said, everybody circulates in there. Berkeley's the same thing. Berkeley's right behind Royal Oak when it comes to these homes, these smaller homes, the older homes are being torn down and new construction is being built on them. So that's why you're seeing a lot of houses sitting on the market, because these people think that they can get top dollar for their homes when, builders aren't going to pay that. They're going to wait for this market to come back around and be able to buy those homes for a little bit cheaper so that they can make the profits they need to make.
Yeah. Hey, Harvey, you were just in Birmingham. You did a presentation at Realtor House in Birmingham, and what do they have to say? What's going on in their market up there?
The market is building teams together, like building their knowledge base. The realtors are taking the time this month to go ahead and put together some strategies for 2023. So we see a lot of that going on. Open houses are really picking up. And we do see that sellers are considering concessions. And some of the houses, like you said, Harry, you move over 1 zip code, and all of a sudden you have an opportunity with some sellers' concessions. But in the other city, just maybe a mile down the street, you're just not seeing that. And I'll let Derica comment on what she's seeing. And again, it's still about location. And some of the families are willing to maybe consider that other zip code and take that opportunity.
Yeah, that's a great point, Derica. Moving to you. Sellers' concessions, maybe not so much in the last 2.5 years, but we've been talking about it. Becky, Lisa Lawson, myself, other people have been talking about that. We have seen the sellers come to the table now a lot more flexible because they understand, or seemingly they understand, and I have to use that word seemingly, throw that in, seemingly understand that they might have to come to the table with some concessions, Derica.
Well, I do agree. I am seeing that more and more often. I think it's really about the education. Like you have to educate your clients. This is not March of 2021 or 22. So educating your clients and letting them know that it's a different market. So set real expectations and let them know that you may have to have some room discussing, okay, if are this price for 30 days or 21 days or whatever, are you willing to decrease? So even talking about that, or negotiating on their prices, but I am seeing concessions being asked from the buyers. I am seeing sellers giving some, and then I am seeing crazy, but I am still seeing multiple offers, highest and best out there in certain locations as well. So it's really about knowing the market, watching the market, staying up to date, and then of course, educating buyers and sellers. Yeah,
the tale of 2 markets, like we said, that might be my mantra for this year. I don't know yet. I haven't come up with one yet, but the tale of 2 markets. And I like what you said, because sometimes we get really crazy and, people think, and we'll get to the interest rate thing a little further down the road, but, it's not 2021. It's not 2020. Expectations change. So really, you have to move with what's going on in the market, and nobody better at that than, Becky's out on the street every day listening to these buyers and sellers. And Becky, remember how everybody wanted us to waive a property inspection or at least get a pass fail? I don't think that subject comes up anymore when you're talking about negotiating to buy a house, right, Beck?
Actually, so what's funny is I actually had a buyer submit an offer. They went back and forth to the seller, and the seller came back requesting an appraisal guarantee, and the deal fell apart because the buyer said absolutely not, because it's just not, the property didn't call for it, nor did they say that in the original offer, and the buyer stuck to their guns. And that's what we're seeing, right? It's this market isn't one thing like Derek was talking about. It's concessions, it's at asking, it's over asking, it's multiple offers, it's a lot of things. And if there's agents out there struggling, it's because the market's changed and they're doing the same old things. You have to have your boots on the ground, and the ones that are not constantly being engaged with their ears to the ground, their feet on the ground, they're missing out, and they're the ones that are struggling. So those of us that are adapting constantly, because this market is something that we've never seen also. So we're coming off of 20, 21, 22, which was really kind of crazy markets. Well, now 2023 is also going to be another unprecedented market. It's technically a seller's market, but buyers really have this moment in time to truly capitalize, because with the interest rates, and there's a lack of inventory, but buyers, it's serious buyers only right now. And what's really cool is that the buyers are understanding, they're savvy, and they are not willing to take less than they deserve in any form of the negotiations, especially if they have a strong agent like Derica. She knows what's up all the time, and she's straight from the hip shooter, and she'll be like, nah, we're not doing that. And her buyers win every time.
Hey, Becky and Derica. Becky, is that really part about being prepared, whether you're a buyer or seller or a loan officer, a lender? If you're not in your car, on the street, ear to the ground, knowing what's going on in that neighborhood here or there, with being in tune to that certain areas. Like we said, 2 homes in Huntington Woods on the market, but right across the street in Royal Oak, you got 122 homes. I mean, listen, we all live in these communities. We know what's going on in our area. We think we do. But Becky, you got to be out there every single day and really listening and watching to what's going on.
You have to be relentless at your craft. You cannot be a jack of all trades. If you want to be a onesie twosie, then you can be the best onesie twosie agent on the face of the planet. However, we are real professionals. This is our full-time gig, and we know what's going on. And you cannot fake it till you make it, because in this kind of market, you're totally exposed, and your clients are the ones that unfortunately are, the buyers that are in line with people that are not doing this full time, or with people that are not adapting and don't know how to adapt. They unfortunately are losing out on some of these offers in a really, really good time to be a buyer, actually.
Yeah. Hey, John, there are so many programs out there, and you and I had a little bit of a discussion, and we like to do our research and our homework on probably the majority of the programs that are out there. And if we don't know of one, we'll certainly get you the answer on one. But there are a significant amount of low down payment programs, first-time homebuyer programs, but a lot of them come with certain requirements, John, like you can only make a maximum amount of income. They're not for everybody. You and I talked about one yesterday, but there are a lot of programs out there for buyers, so I don't see any problem. Everybody asks me, well, is the market tightening up? Is the credit market tightening up? What's going on with the Fed and all those guys? No, it has nothing to do with home buying. If you have pretty good credit and you have a little down payment money, we can get you into a home, as long as, let's face it, you better have a good credit history, as long as you can afford to make the payment, because why pay somebody else's mortgage or rent when you can own your own home, John? So many programs.
Yeah, there are so many programs. I mean, what it comes down to is, just, making sure you fit in the box that you need to be fit into. Yesterday we were talking about not a first-time home buyer who wanted 3% down, that made decent amount of money, that was over the income limit for that area. And, that program just didn't exist for that person. So what's the alternative to something like that? Well, how about doing 5% down and then asking the seller for some seller concessions? So all of a sudden you're getting in for the same dollar amount as 3% down, coming out of pocket with your closing costs and setting up your escrow account. So we've got a bunch of different programs that we can try to figure out, finagle. Some will fit, some won't. But the bottom line is, can we get you in for the same dollar amount that you need to be able to get into a home for? And the answer is always yes. Yes, we can. We can figure a way to get it done.
Yeah. Hey, Harvey, before I go to Derek, I want to come back to you for a second. You're working with a few buyers right now. What programs are you seeing, or what are the questions, the most prominent questions that you're getting from your clients, your buyers, when they're buying a house?
Terry, not enough questions. I'm glad you brought that up. There's no doubt even a first-time home buyer called me yesterday and quickly moved to interest rate conversation. And after I got through a few things there, I quickly understood, didn't know what a discount point was, didn't understand the closing costs and the fees that she was going to be forced to pay chasing a low interest rate in today's market, and how much more sense it made to keep her money in her pocket and buy 3% down. So again, and then the other clients I'm working with are working with over 20% down. So there are two different buyers out there always. Like we said, the tale of different cities, the tale of different buyers. Everyone's got a little different story going on. And it's exciting. We do have some new buyers coming out there. Some self-employed people are going to be wrapping up their tax returns. So I'm right on the verge of, again, whole bunch of buyers making offers.
Yeah, that's great. Derica, I have to ask you this question. I cannot let you go, and I love to ask all our guests about interest rates, right? All right, I know it's scary. It really is. But really, is 6.5, 6.75, 6 7/8, is that really a bad interest rate, Derica, in your experience?
I would say no, it's not what my, your grandma, well, my grandmother paid in the 80s. You know what I mean? So when you look at what they paid in the 80s, it's nothing compared to that. But I find a lot of buyers now are waiting for the interest rates to go down, but they're not understanding that the prices of the houses are down. Your interest rate is higher. But if you flip it around, okay, when the interest rate comes down, guess what? The housing prices are going to go higher. So let's buy now. Call Becky. Let's get you pre-approved. Let's not lose your buying power. You know what I mean? So just try to educate them and let's get them moving now.
Yeah, Derica, not to mention if they wait, that lets in more competition for the homes that they're buying, right?
Exactly. Yes, less competition right now. Exactly.
I love that. That's exactly what we try to tell people. So, and you know what? I don't know if you and Becky rehearse this, but we always go back to Becky's grandmother.
We do not know.
Becky's grandmother will tell you that in the 80s, interest rates were 18%. So what are you waiting for, right, Becky? Come on.
What's funny is I actually went and visited her. I was with her over the weekend, and obviously she always likes to talk shop because she knows what I do for a living. And the first thing she said to me was, "You must be busy. The interest rates are really good again, aren't they?" Because it's perspective. You're talking about people that come from nothing, that came out and hustled, and they paid that with a smile on their face at 18% because they had their first piece of the American dream. Now, granted, she probably paid $20,000 for her little green mansion at the time, but now you're looking at things that are totally different. And the buyers have been spoiled. Like the last 2 years, it's not real. And, so here we are. We're settled back in where the rates were back in 2006. And I bought my first house in 2006 and my rate was 6.25. And at that time, we're coming up the 8, 9, 10s. And I felt like I got touched by an angel when I got a 6.25 as a first time home buyer at 24 years old. So, and guess what? I refinanced at my leisure when the opportunity arose. So what Derica is saying is if you are so inclined and you just got hit with that new rent letter, it is time to have the conversation to see if home ownership is going to work for you. Secure the house at a price point that you can afford, and then we're going to refinance you when these opportunities arise, because they will. We've all been doing this long enough where we're just in another cycle, and those opportunities will be there in the next coming years.
I love it. This is the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate and Business Podcast brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. We are an equal housing lender. We are with special guest Derica Wade from Dwellings, Michigan in Plymouth. We also have Mr. John Cole, Mr. Harvey Freed, and you just heard from Becky Alley. We're going to go to our last words for the day. We're going to start with John, go to Harvey, Derica, and then Becky will wrap it up. This has been a great podcast. A lot of information out there. The one thing you take away from this podcast is you have to be prepared in this ever-changing market. That's just my 2 cents. John Cole, what are your last words for today?
I mean, we've touched on everything that's the most important, right? Don't wait. Like everybody has said here, is you can get into a house right now. It's a perfect time for people to buy and, get some seller concessions. I feel, and everything that we read, that once you get into the spring of 2023, summer of 2023, that you're going to be up against tough competition and possibly going above asking again. So don't wait. Like we've said here, if the interest rate isn't what you like right now, let's talk about a buy down product. Let's talk about, what you can do to refinance in the future when rates do come down. Because if you wait, prices are going to go up, rates may come down, prices go up, they're going to be offsetting, and then you're stuck with the long-term higher payment for 30 years.
Such strong advice, John Kolb, as always. Mr. Harvey Freed.
Get that strong team together. Again, top real estate agents who we usually have on these podcasts, who we have on the radio show. Get with those teams. They'll set you up with those great lenders out there. And really understand how your offer is going to come all together, and you're going to get that accepted offer and close within 30 days. It's all about getting approved up front.
I love it. Experience matters, and you're listening to and watching some of the most experienced, not only agents, but mortgage lenders in the business. You're talking about, I don't know. I'm so old, it doesn't matter, John. But Derica, it doesn't even matter. I mean, you just have to be experienced and prepared, okay? So, Derica, what are your last words for today? And we also want to thank you for being on the podcast. You're awesome, very knowledgeable, and it's about the education of everybody, buyers, sellers, just making sure everybody is prepared to enter that transaction. Derica, what are your last words for today?
Well, thank you so much, first of all, for having me. It was definitely a pleasure. I didn't know what to expect, so it was a pleasure to talk with you guys and, of course, make everybody aware of the market. But definitely, like they said, get a team. Make sure that your agent is not afraid to negotiate, which I am not. So if you want to, definitely call me. I know Becky's the same way, that we worked together, and make sure that you are getting your education. Understand why you're doing what you're doing. It's important to understand why you're doing that. I mean, don't just pay because somebody tells you to pay. Ask questions. Know why you're doing what you're doing. So get an experienced agent, get an experienced lender, get a great team, and get your house, get your dream home. And I can manage.
I appreciate that. That's such good advice. And for everybody out there, just so you know, the podcast, I think, Harvey, this is our about 130th podcast, but more importantly, the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, co-hosted by Harvey Freed, Becky Alley, heard every Saturday morning, 97.1 FM from 9 to 10, is in our 23rd year. And you'll hear the dulcet tones of Becky Alley on Saturday morning. Becky, last words for the day.
Yes, definitely get out there, start the conversation sooner. Just a real quick story. I got the second call on a buyer that was under contract with another lender. They were not properly pre-approved. They had a conventional pre-approval. They were FHA all day long. And thank goodness the agent had enough savvy to reach out to me, because they were not feeling comfortable with the situation. So they were selling their house. We had to pay off debt to even get them to qualify for FHA. So you need to make sure that you have the proper people that are looking out for you and are not afraid to shift gears if they identify a problem. We might not always be the first call, but if we are the second call, we will be the last call. And I take a lot of pride in that, knowing that we can identify these situations and get everyone to the closing table. If you're going to be in Royal Oak, I think we have a couple of last minute spots. I will be at the Jolly Pumpkin tonight doing a seller and buyer seminar from 6 to 8. So if you, it's on my Facebook page, you can still sign up. Looking forward to seeing you there. And then we will be, we're going to have Darren Roberts on the Hardcore Mortgage podcast this Saturday. It's going to be a great show, and Derica's coming up next.
We appreciate that. And Becky, I want to thank you. I want to thank our entire panel. Derica Wade from Dwellings, Michigan and Plymouth. Harvey Freed, 97.1 FM, co-host of the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Mr. John Kolb, a top mortgage loan officer for the last God knows how many years, along with Becky Alley. Scotsman's Guide, check it out for 2022. They'll be in there in the upcoming month. You'll see them in the edition of Scotsman's Guide, along with many other publications for Becky, John, Harvey, Capital Mortgage Funding, and Fairway. So for January 18, 2023, this has been the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Podcast, and we will see you soon.